Hello and welcome to Potstilled Radio's new release radar. As always, I'm your host, Potstilled, Matt from Potstilled.com, your number one stop for Irish whiskey news and interviews. And in this case, the newest releases on the Irish whiskey market. As always, I am delighted to be bringing you this recording with some of the most fantastic and most interesting Irish whiskey brands on the planet. I will say a very big thank you to our sponsors, Irish Malts, who are sponsoring the beginnings of the new release radar series. So go check out irishmalts.com for the newest drops and places you can buy Irish whiskey, poaching, and gin and get it shipped to you all across the world where legal, of course. Now, I want to say a very big welcome to Brendan Carty, founder and operator and jack of all trades from one of Ireland's most popular and fiercely sought after distilleries, Killowen in the Mourne Mountains. Welcome to the show, Brendan. How you doing?
Yo, man, thanks for the lovely introduction. And cheers to the Charlotte and Irish Malts. Good friends of Killowen there too.
Absolutely. Well, Brendan, it's been a while since we first met, because I remember on a rainy afternoon, I drove up to your distillery, which I saw today on LinkedIn is your 6th-year anniversary working at the distillery. I know the distillery has been operating that long, but it must have been since you've put pen to paper to build the distillery dream. So it's been a long time since I did my first recording with you there, so I'm delighted to have you back. It must be some journey, especially working with international spirits like we are going to be talking about today.
Yeah, I think you were there nearly 3.5, 4 years ago or something, and a cold winter's night. Yeah, no, it was great. You were there from the start, Matt. You seen the potential. So thank you. Yeah.
Well, not a problem at all. So we are here tonight to talk about your newest release. It is releasing on this Thursday. It is going to be a limited run of spirit that shares 2 international borders. So I'm going to pull up a little picture here to show people at home what we're talking about. But why don't you introduce this product?
Oh, yeah. So this is a lovely bottling. For us, it's very important too because it represents the end of the Bonded International series. So way back, we done our Bonded Experimental series, working with different Irish spirits and combining them together, bottling and blending. And it really, was a signifier of the Killowen influence, the Killowen ethos of integrity bottlings and transparency and non-chill filtration. This is that again, except this is working with our favourite overseas distillery, a small distillery that had a huge amount of influence on Killowen, Belgrove Distillery. So this is the last time we're going to bottle up a Belgrove. This is the end of our stocks and the end of the series as well.
So tell us about, I suppose, this series, because people are going to see International Bonded series. You're going to see the names Rum and Raisin. You're going to see Rye. You're going to see Belgrove. There's a lot of Killowen DNA has gone into this bottle. And I've got my own bottle of Killowen sitting here behind me on the counter. You see, it's a recognizable DNA. But what should people expect? Like what's in this bottle that we're going to be talking about today?
This one, I suppose the 2 big influences for Killowen before we set up, obviously we knew we were going to set up a distillery, but people are always influenced by others. And I suppose Fionnán O'Connor's teachings, that idea of the, the ethos of Irish whiskey and that, playing around with mash bills. And one of those grains that come up time and time again was rye. And then, of course, there was Belgrove Distillery. Spending time in Australia years ago, I went and visited Belgrove Distillery. Peter and Belgrove came to visit us. And he really does champion rye. I don't think anybody does rye better than him in the world, hands down. And I think this rye whiskey rivals the absolute best of Irish whiskey. And for us, this was celebrating those 2 influences and celebrating Belgrove Distillery and trying to bring Peter's quality spirits to the world. So if we can sing about it in this hemisphere, all the better for him. And I think we've definitely helped to grow his reputation up here as well. So it's just gorgeous. It's rye, and it's rye like no other. And I like Killowen, there's Maillard reaction, albeit a lot more, burning in the base of the still and creating much more flavour. It's just an absolute rye bomb. And what we've done is finished it in different ways to add to that.
So it first matured in Australia, in Tasmania. Is that correct? In his Pinot Noir casks.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It became whiskey in Australia, and then was sent to us as so it's not Irish whiskey. It just says whiskey on the bottle.
And that again is because of there's maturation happening in Tasmania, maturation happening in the Mourne Mountains that has
Mm.
that international border that strips it of its Australian and of course doesn't allow its Irish designation. So a little bit
Yeah,
of a cross world collaboration.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, it really is, and it's just to show, this is a tiny distillery. It's the same size as Killowen at the other side of the world, basically, and it's just that lovely connection between the two places, and long may it continue.
And what I suppose possesses you to call up Peter Bignell down in Australia and try to haggle spirit from him to release in Ireland? Because assumingly, presumably, uh, he needs all of his spirit too. I'm sure
Mm.
people who ring you up looking for a Killowen 3-year-old would have a tough time getting out of your hands. So what I suppose gave you that passion to go and pursue him to bring that spirit to Ireland?
I suppose if you think about it, like at the time we had before our whiskey was of age, we started to play on this, and it's just that we were working with all these lovely Irish liquids, of course, and we just wanted to do something different. There was a lot of people are working with those same liquids that we have here, and we were being very different in terms of the blending of that of those different liquids, and that was fair enough. And we had that challenge, and I think we were successful with it. But this time we just wanted to be different again. So we thought, what we'll do? We'll work with some overseas liquid. We had these grand opinions to work with all these ideas, sorry, to work with all these distilleries from around the world, and we started up conversations with them all. And then I just reined it all back in and said, look, I love Belgrove. Killowen has a lot in common with Belgrove and signifies that each other's distilleries through what we do. So I thought I'll just get some Belgrove here and we'll use it. So we worked with the oat and we worked with the rye. So initially we released the oat, then we released the rye. Afterwards, then we released the oat as a rum and raisin, which was absolutely gorgeous. Like, it was like custard with fruit in it. And this one is a little bit of that in it again. But yeah, this one then was something that we finished off ourselves. We thought we'd put a wee bit of Killowen spice on it too. So yeah, we changed it slightly by finishing it in our signature rum and raisin casks. So our own Killowen dark rum casks and a lovely PX sherry cask. And whenever you've add the two together, we get the rum and raisin. So every whiskey, I think, can be finished in that way, if only for a very small time or a longer time. It's just about doing it right and pulling them out at the right time, but making, that's the fun of the job, I suppose, is vatting a couple of them together. And on a quiet Wednesday evening at home, you'll be taking a little sip and seeing if it's ready or not. And this one, this one just needed more time. This one, I thought, because the rye is so big and dominant, it had a very long finish, and we thought, look, we'll just see what happens here. But yeah, the rye does not go away. It's always singing and dancing, and we've just reached the stage now where the rum cask and the PX casks do complement the rye.
Okay, and that your Wednesday night sipping at home, tasting the cast samples, you found the sweet spot. This was the time for the rye to make its rum and raisin appearance.
Yeah, it was some weeks ago. I think it was just before Christmas, so we pulled it out to it. And the time between now and Christmas just flies in. So we now have it ready to go. So we just got it bottled up, and we can let it out there. And it's a sad moment to see the end of these bottlings. But I think we've definitely finished this on a high. I don't know. You've got the press release release in front of you, but some of the taste notes are just surreal. They're absolutely explosive. It's it's not like anything I've ever tasted. To me, Peter Bignell's mint comes across like mint sauce. If you ever had mint sauce on top of lamb, I don't know if that's as popular now as it used to be, but that's there in its abundance. But for some reason, it works really well with rum notes, with molasses. But it's actually more coconut seems to come out with the rum this time, and those lovely dried fruits are in there as well. So it's fantastic. Lots and lots of dark chocolate as well. So I think one of the notes I put in was choc chip ice cream. What was it? Mint choc ice cream.
I mean, that ties in a lot of those flavors you're talking about.
Yeah.
Um, And I see from the press release where we can expect the true Killowen experience of cast strength, no chill filtration, no caramel coloring, a pretty high ABV as well from 60.2 or something along those lines.
Yeah, it's crazy how things work in Tasmania, because when these guys put liquid into a cask, because the air there is actually much more dry than ours, and we're much more humid here. Although the two temperatures and landscapes are very similar, they definitely have a drier climate for the majority of the year, and as a result, alcohol doesn't absorb into the atmosphere. It's water that absorbs into the atmosphere. So they still get their angel share and they lose volume, but as a result, the ABV of the cask actually increases over time, which is
So
a
very much.
glorious problem to have. But for us, that ABV goes down over time, and they get these really supercharged whiskies. So this one's very high, yeah, and it's with all that flavors in there. I tasted it again today whenever I was writing those tasting notes, and oh, it's so palatable at a high ABV, just because all the oils are still in there, and that's the joy of it. All of the flavor and all those congeners and fusel oils, they all sit in the spirit. It's the water that's going away, and all the flavor stays. So it's excellent.
So it said 60 something ABV, to be launched, I believe, exclusively through the Killowen website, both in Europe and they see online that a couple are going to be heading to the US direction as well.
Yeah, well, probably. I think that the Canadians got a few before, but I think we can probably sell direct to the Americans. So the Canadians managed to get a couple in their last delivery, so there's probably a few sitting out there at the moment. But yeah, no, they'll be launched through our own website. The problem with it is, if we were to sell these through traditional channels, if everybody got their margin on top of these, it just would not be affordable for the consumer. So we're unable to work with our traditional trading partners on this one. So yeah, it's just the way it is when you're shipping whiskey around the world of this rarity.
Exactly. And how many bottles is 200 something bottles? Is that correct?
Yeah, just over 200 something bottles. So hopefully they all sell. Hopefully people are still thirsty for some really quality juice, even in these wee dark months after Christmas.
Exactly. And RRP, I believe, was 84.95 pounds British.
Yeah, that's it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And
So
so it's dropping as a limited release through your website, KillowendDistillery.com. Is that correct?
yeah, that's it, through the online shop, and
Yeah.
as soon as we get the orders in, we just pop them out. It's funny, people sometimes manage to get them in the States before people do locally, which is it's just the way it works. Sometimes the shipping can surprise you.
Exactly. So
It can be super fast.
so I can see a lot of kind of parallels in that innovation between both your distilleries, between Belgrove and Killowen. And
Mm.
obviously, you're both fans of rye, as can be witnessed. And I'm sure there's, while produced similarly, there'll be differences in the flavor profiles between Killowen Rye and Belgrove Rye. I actually have your first release here. I have a tiny sample left, and I have it in the glass just to remind me of
Oh,
the
good man.
Killowen flavor. But I had the remnants here. If I can get that to focus.
Wow.
Um,
Well, do you know what? I think yeah. That of the rye itself, or is that of the?
this is some of the rye itself, yeah. So that's but I'm
I haven't got any of that with me, so unfortunately, I
but what
join you.
this as I said, is just for my own, just to have with me. But I'm having in my World Drinks Awards glass here, and
Yes,
I'm pondering to myself,
very fitting.
um, what do you think this was the international community? Because obviously in Ireland, Killowen is a shit hot name. Everyone knows it. Killowen, the bottling sell out incredibly quickly. There's a cult dedicated to Killowen on Facebook. That's literal Killowen cult. You can Google it. That's not a diminutive statement. So the excitement around the distillery is real. And going out into the greater world, I know I saw you've entered some of your first competitions there and come home wielding gold. Um, do you think that this is the Killowen spirits are a departure from what people would be used to, or do you think it's just an innovative twist on some of the spirits that the world, those who sit at, who follow World Whiskey Awards results are the similar for their inspirations of what to drink.
Yeah, these ones are slightly different, but it's funny. We chose Belgrove because there is obviously a certain connection there in terms of the flavor profiles. Obviously, the Maillard reaction, the thick viscosity of the spirit, the serious lack of chill filtration, or basic barrier filtration at the most. So
take out the chunks of wood, and that's about it.
Yeah. Some chunks of woods might start to make their way back into our bottles because folks seem to like that. And the sport party fiber is good for the diet anyway. So Peter definitely has a good few similarities with us there. So in that regard, yeah, but it's quite different. And then talking about awards as well, this spirit itself, the last time Peter came to visit us is because he happened to be in London at the time anyway for the World Spirits Awards. He was up for the best whiskey in the world in London, and an American distillery beat him at the time, so he came second. And then, but obviously a multi-award winning distillery, absolutely tremendous spirit. And when we were waiting on this cask, he was waiting on a very good cask to give us, and one that he knew would be fitting of international repertoire. So this is certainly one of them, and we tried our best to make it better, and I don't want to say it. I know Peter's brilliant at what he does, but this certainly tastes would fit some people's tastes a little bit more, and others maybe would prefer the original. And I suppose that's the good thing about it. When we were talking recently about the different Belgrove, some people might have preferred the ones that weren't aged, finished, compared to the ones that were finished. So there's definitely, it provides much more opinion and much more diversity in flavor.
Well, that's it. I mean, whiskey is subjective beast as it is, in terms of Killowen's inclusion of rye whiskies, or even I suppose generally compared to what they may be tasting here. We saw your first couple of releases coming from the distillery. Have you found the distinct, I suppose, flavor characteristic from the distillery yet, or are you still building upon that as you distill every day?
No, it's definitely there. It's definitely there. That Killowen DNA carries through in all of our spirits. So we've released 3 very different whiskies to date. The Capuchin Charity cask, which was a tremendous success. That the volunteers who sold that cask in Friends of Irish Whiskey, it was a rye whiskey. I think it was 90-something% rye, and a tiny little bit of malt.
I'm going to jump in there. When I first met you, I think it was like 2 days after you'd mashed that. I don't even know if you distilled it yet. We talked about it on my first podcast about Pierce breaking the paddles, and it's non-want to filter through. So it was great seeing the tail end, because I remember asking at the time. I was so excited. I was like, "Will you make more 95% rye whiskies?" And you went, no.
It's still fresh in our minds. I think we've got 2.5 casks of that, and the pain is still very vivid and fresh. So we didn't have the equipment to work with dry rye, So Peter's working with green rye, and it's much easier for him to work with, and he uses a hammer mill to break it up, basically, or a meat mincer. But yeah, so that rye was lovely, but the DNA shone through with it compared to our first release, which was a peated pot still in a PX sherry cask, and the second one was a non-peated pot still in a bourbon cask. And all 3 of them whiskies, which were very different mash bills, different character of grain. Some were smoked, some weren't, and the rye was even mildly peated. They all carried through that same DNA, and for some reason it still exists right through today. Even with our extraordinary spirit that we created, the Balkan Potstilled that time, which was a small one-off, it lingered on through it, and it was a completely absurd mash bill of 50-50 malted barley, which was extremely highly peated, and it still lingered on through. So I'd say if you had 10 whiskies in a row and you were to taste one, you could automatically say that's the Killowen right there. You don't know which one it is, but it's definitely a Killowen, because it's got the funk in there that's balanced, and yeah, it's there.
Well, I do want to take this time to say a very big thank you to our sponsors, Irish Malts, who are sponsoring the Potstilled new release radar and are helping to bring this episode with Brendan Carty from Killowen Distillery. So very big thank you to them. Brendan, So right now we are talking about this Killowen Rye. Is a Belgrove collaboration. It is dropping this week, a limited edition, cast strength at £84 95 pence for the bottle. I do want to get that back in on this new release radar, but I do want to ask you about new developments in the distillery as well, because as people sit down to their bottle of well fought after Killowen Rye, they'll be sitting back sipping, thinking about the future of the Killowen Distillery. Are we going to see any new developments? Are we seeing any new equipment coming down the line? Are we seeing any
I don't know
new
how you knew
releases
about
coming down the line?
that. Did I tell you about that? I don't know. Yeah, we
It's
actually.
called leading questions for a reason, Brendan.
I don't know how you done that. Well done, but yeah, there actually is. There's a new still coming in. We were thinking about making a new still, so we've got a little bonded warehouse on the mountain as well. So we've moved all of our casks into it, and in the actual distillery itself, we're going to change one of the rooms from the cask store into another still room, and we're going to run another still in there. So our two current stills will just run as wash stills, and then the new room will run as a spirit still. So what we're going to do is get exactly the same still built leg for leg for as a spirit still, and make it identical, and put it into the other room. So yeah, we'll be able to make a little bit more stuff, a little bit more, a third more. So I suppose we could end up making 2 casks a week if we really, really try. But
You're going gangbusters there, Brendan.
might be able to
um,
catch up with some of the big giants in the industry.
exactly. And what volume will this new spirit still be then?
The same as before. It's an 800 litre still, but there'll only ever be 360 to 380 litres in it. So it's always less than half full. So much more interaction again with the copper, enjoying the flame fed distillation, and it'll be identical to what we're doing at the moment. So it gives us the opportunity to just produce more, but at the same scale, if you like. So we would mash in our mash tun 3 times a week. We don't mash any more than that. So this would enable us then, if we mashed another day or two a week, then we could continue on doing what we're doing. So yeah, it's really exciting, but it's a bit of a squeeze at the moment. But I'd say we'll get it done. You know what we're like up there for space? Too much of
Well,
it.
that's the thing. Oh, far too much, Brendan. I was going to say that you must be filling that cask room in the distillery very quickly. So it's good to hear that you're expanding up the mountain, as I say. Is it onto the Hill of the Fairies, or where is your new warehouse?
Yeah, it's just on up the lane, so it's good, just on there. But the joys with or at the moment we're actually selling produce and making produce. So we've got that unique position now where I suppose if you're doing a one in, one out operation, it should be sustainable space wise.
Yeah.
So yeah, we shouldn't
Listen,
need any more now. That's the idea. That's what I keep telling myself.
exactly. So is there, with this new spirit still coming in, you're converting the existing spirit still into a wash still. So essentially you're doubling your wash production, which is
Yeah.
great. You're going to have a few more IBCs for fermentation up around the distillery. A few more people will be able to stick their heads in and see what they're like.
Yeah, and we might eventually even get those big oak fermenters that we're dreaming of, and we can have them sitting open topped inside, beside in the still room, beside the still as well, beside the open windows, and the door can be open, is always open all day during production too. So it might be a feed in between the two, or else we can get big funky ones and casters that we can just roll in and out. It's all ahead of us.
Exactly. Well, Brendan, thank you very much for taking the time to speak to me about this brand new release, and of course about the future of the distillery. That bottling is dropping this week. For those who are watching this ahead of the launch, get your mouses on the buy button ready on Killowen's website. For those who are listening back, I hope you enjoyed hearing about this brand new bottling coming. It is the last of the Bond International series, so I'm assuming we're going to see big and bright new things with the next releases, Brendan, or are they going to be solely Killowen Distilled releases from now on?
I'd say so. We'll always enjoy the our rum and raisin core, which as long as we can, because I don't know if many people know this, the malt in the industry is getting very scarce, and I don't
Say
know
that
how
again,
long.
Brendan.
Yeah, I don't know how long our single malt release can last. Probably another one or two releases of the rum and raisin, but yeah, we'll keep it going as long as we can. But this is it. Yeah, this is the end of the Bonnet International Series. Aside from there'll never be any more overseas whiskey bottled again. So it's a sad moment in a way, but it's a big watershed too. But what a way to finish it. This bottling is beautiful.
Exactly. Well, I very much look forward to the frenzy this creates when launched at a very specific time of 4:40 this Thursday.
Yeah, we're always listening to people. I suppose there's always an ear to the ground, and there's some people who work in offices and they complain. And then there's the guys in America, so you have to give them kudos. So they want it released at 5 o'clock so they can get it in the morning time. And then the guys here, they don't want to get it whenever they're driving home from work, and then they don't want to get it whenever they are working. So you need to just get the right time. So maybe some of them can bunk off and work 20 minutes early, and
or at least jump on the phone while the last 20 minutes of work.
yeah, see, all the big companies will be listening to this now and tapping into our genius ideas. So
Exactly. Well, innovation comes from those who need it. So, Brendan, thank you very much. A very big thank you to you, and of course to our sponsors, Irish Malts. Make sure to get your hands on this bottle of Killowen Rye, and thank you for listening in to Potstill's new release radar. Thank you very much, Brendan.
good stuff. Thanks a million, man.